find your unique thing. Find Milk Punch, and you can harness that power, and then you can share that authenticity with others. You need to have things that create connection point. This has been a conversation starter. This has been a door opener for me because it's interesting. Hey, it's Nathan on another episode of the Selling Trust podcast. Have you ever heard of a drink called clarified milk punch? I hadn't, not until a few years ago. It's a really interesting drink that has actually existed for a really long time. I believe if you go online, you can even access Benjamin Franklin's recipe for clarified milk punch. So this goes all the way back to the founding of this country. And it wasn't really like a drink to get drunk off of, if you will, but it actually was a way to make a shelf-stable, safe beverage that was enjoyable to drink, but it could either be kind of like a medium proof or a really low proof beverage. Anyway, I encourage you to check it out. The drink has a ton of history and it's interesting, it's weird, it's unique. I think Alton Brown, if you know who he is, he's fantastic on Food Network because he not only gets into food and the whys behind the food and the hows behind the food, but he's very good at telling stories and making food interesting and entertaining and enjoyable and educational. So he has an awesome milk punch recipe that's a little kind of like off the beaten path, if you will, because that's how a lot of his stuff is. It's unique and memorable. And I kind of took his recipe and riffed off of it a little bit. I also jumped onto ChatGPT for some suggestions and did some back and forth, and what I ended up with was this kind of ruby red milk punch that is just clear, kind of pink, and wonderful flavor. So this milk punch in particular, it's made with high proof wild turkey bourbon, ruby red port. It's got lemon juice in it. It has bergamot Earl Grey tea, so some notes of orange in there, and then that tea is actually brewed with orange peel. You got some sugar in there to round out the sour. And then for those of you who don't know and aren't familiar with a milk punch, the unique thing about the milk punch is that you clarify this mixture, right? So the bourbon's gonna be really dark from the tannins and the char from the oak barrels that it's put in. The port is really dark, obviously, once again, because of the skins and the tannins that go into the port making and the brandy that's used to fortify the port. So lots of dark, heavy stuff. The tea is dark because of the tannins in the tea. And so what you actually do is you pour this whole mixture into simmering milk. And because there's acid, there's lemon juice, you can use any kind of citrus juice, but because there's acid in this mixture, it actually causes the milk to curdle, and the milk fats start binding with all the other solids and all the other impurities that are in the mixture. And what you're left with is this very, very clear, much lighter colored drink. And so you're pulling out impurities and you're cleaning up this drink with the milk fats, and then you strain everything off, and you're essentially left with, you got the bourbon, you got the port, you got the tea, you got the citrus juice, and now you have whey from your milk that actually comes in and rounds out this drink. It's a really wild process and a really interesting drink, and I would encourage you to make it because there's a million ways to riff on this and have fun making something that's unique and interesting. You can kind of put your stamp on it. Why does this matter? Why does this matter? Why did I just spend the last few minutes telling you about milk punch. Aside from the fact that I think it's cool and interesting and I like mixing drinks, I like mixology, and it's something that I find to be fun, I cannot tell you the number of people that I have talked to about milk punch that have no idea what it is, no clue that it exists, and have never tasted it before in their life. This has been a conversation starter. This has been a door opener for me because it's interesting, right? What do you have going on in your life, whether it be situations in your life, whether it be your hobbies, things that you enjoy, sports that you participate in, things that you do really well, cooking, making drinks, whatever it is, what do you have going on in your life that's interesting that you can use to positively affect other people in your life? For me, it's mixology and it's cooking. Two things I absolutely love to do. Oh, and by the way, if you don't drink, you can actually make non-alcoholic versions of milk punch. So before you say, oh, I don't drink, I don't like that, not for me, there are ways to do this where you can make a non-alcoholic version, and it's also very interesting and complex, and so it still creates the same effect, okay? We need to not only know ourselves well enough, personal authenticity, as talked about in the Mark method, but we also need to be able to take the things that we know about ourselves and use those things to affect the people that we're around for the good. If you make something, this last year for Christmas, I gave away a whole bunch of homemade pepper jelly, and then I also have lemon trees in my backyard, and I made lemon vanilla marmalade. Both were delicious, and I gave those away as holiday gifts to my clients. Yes, it would have been much easier to do holiday cards, which, by the way, they still got. Everyone got a thing of jelly or jam. They got a handwritten note and a holiday card, kind of like family update from me. And so it took a lot of time, it took a lot of energy, but at the end of the day, these people that I'm doing business with are worth it, right? And I want to not only do something interesting and memorable for them, but also something that speaks to them about who I am, right? I'm someone that cares. I'm someone that wants to go the extra mile. I'm someone that is willing to make something versus buy something. This all speaks to my authentic self, just like this milk punch does, right? It's something weird, it's something interesting, it's something cool, it's something off the beaten path. And I've taken it and I've made it mine, and I've used that now as a tool to connect. All the while having fun, being able to spend some time in the kitchen, making something that I think is good. I took the leftover, right? So I filled up this 175 liter handle from an old bottle of spiced rum that I had laying around, and I filled this up and I had some leftovers, and so I actually took the leftovers over to my neighbors. And my neighbors are great, they're amazing, they're fantastic people, but it was an excuse to go and connect with them. I called up my neighbor and I said, hey man, listen, I got some milk punch, and he goes, oh dang, no way, because I've shared this before with him. I said, yeah, I made a new batch, I kind of switched it up a little bit. Do you mind if I come over and I'll bring you some? And so he was stoked, and I went over to his house, and we ended up talking, him, his wife, and myself, we ended up talking way longer than I had planned. But it was a moment to share. It was a moment to create connection. It was a moment to deepen the relationship that we have. And so it's not this doing this stuff, right? I've talked about relationship building. I talk about personal authenticity. I talk about knowing yourself and knowing who you are and mastering your mindset. All of these things apply just as much outside of work as they do inside of work. And so I use the same methodology. I use the Mark method in my professional life. I use the Mark method in my personal life because I think real, genuine relationships are important. I think doing things for those around you is important. In fact, not only is it important, it's a necessity when it comes to building relationships as an adult. And I'm gonna do another podcast about adult relationship building, because I think it's something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, about how difficult it is and why it is difficult, right? On the surface level, you can say, oh yeah, we're adults, we're all busy and that's why it's hard, but there's so much more that goes into it. So we're gonna talk about that later. But what I really wanted to stress here was find your thing. Find your unique thing. Find milk punch. Go make some milk punch. Go make something interesting. Do a craft. Do a hobby. I think crafting is gonna take off with the age of AI that we are in. I think personal connection and crafting and getting back to making things with your hands, gardening, pickling, canning, what have you. I think all of these things are gonna become more and more prevalent in our society because it's stuff that a computer can't do. It's stuff that you're not gonna have robots at your house doing these kind of simple tasks, these manual labor tasks, but they're gonna be tasks that bring joy. Zach Galifianakis just recently released a little mini-series about gardening, and he brings up a lot of interesting points about being outside, being in the soil, doing something with your hands. It's very rewarding and it's very fulfilling, and for him, it fills his heart, it fills his soul. And as we go down this path of AI, right, constantly being smarter, constantly being able to do more, you need to understand what makes you happy. You need to understand what it is that you can do aside from work, right? Can you cook? Can you garden? Can you can? I don't know, make pottery, right? Is there something neat that excites you and interests you that really has nothing to do with AI at all, that you can use to connect with people on a deeper level? Because that is the way our society is going. Not only are you going to have to be interesting, but you're gonna have to be interesting around things that are genuinely human and manual and take touch and finesse and nuance and creativity, a lot like what went into this milk punch. This was an expedition of creativity, and I hadn't made one of these in a while, and I had another family friend of ours talk about the last time I had shared a milk punch with them, and so it got me thinking, hey, you know what, I should make another one and share it with them. It wasn't my neighbors, it was another group of friends of ours, but it created a connection point. And so whether it is in your personal life or whether it is in work, you need to have things that create connection points. You need to have things that make you memorable and interesting and are authentically you. And if you can do that and you can harness that power and then you can share that authenticity with others, you'll be able to sit down and have a drink with them, or you'll be able to sit down and have a meal with them, or you'll be able to invite them over to learn how to can the vegetables that you just harvested from your garden or bought from the local farmer's market. Or maybe, who knows, maybe you have a kiln in your house and you're gonna throw some pottery and make mugs together and have your own special mugs that you have at work. I don't know, but all of that to me sounds like a really freaking awesome time and a really amazing way to connect with others. Listen, if you're looking to figure this out, if you're looking to learn how to connect with other people in a genuine human way and put all the AI stuff aside, let's talk. I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a note, direct message me. I would love to talk to you about this process of self-exploration and how you can use it to not only learn to enjoy something to enrich your own life, but also take that thing that you love and use it to not only enrich the lives of people around you, but also enrich the lives of people that you do business with. And so now you're having fun, you're educating, you're positively impacting the people you're working with, And you know what? You're gonna be memorable. You're gonna be thought about. They're gonna wanna do more business with you. And your business is going to grow and thrive based off of you finding these cool things about yourself that you can turn around and share with others. So anyway, cheers to authenticity. Cheers to Milk Punch. Go look it up, learn more about it. And also, if this inspires anybody to make a milk punch, I would love to hear about what you create. I would love a recipe share. That would be incredible. So till then, enjoy crafting and creating and connecting. And I look forward to see you again on the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.